You are watching your award-winning cable access station, Channel 13 and 19, Athol Orange Community Television.
News. You are watching Ask AOTV, and today we're going to have some answers. We've gone to the people that really know. This is Bonnie Benjamin, and we're glad to have you listening and watching today. The news is a new radio station. A brand new radio station, WVAO. How did a radio station come into AOTV? Carol, tell us about it first.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, well, I mean, the idea has been floating around for, almost 8 years, because the FCC in 2007 had an opening for the full power radio station, which we had applied for but didn't get because it was too much competition. So when this one came around, we applied again. But the premise really is that a community radio station is just like AOTV. It's just like the television station on radio. So we had so many of the same similar concepts where we've been teaching video classes where, we have people do shows and put them on the air. Well, a community radio station, and plus we also bring happenings that we do, the graduations, the select board meetings, all of that AOTV produces, and we bring that to the community. So the radio station is another medium, in theory a little easier because it's only audio, where you don't have to worry about video and audio. And we could then have people in the community learn how to do a radio program. A lot of people might not want to do TV with these lights and worrying about our hair and all that stuff. So they might want to do a radio show, and we could, provide that service. Obviously, that meant, we have 2 board members here. It meant the board really taking an incumbent upon themselves to be fiscally responsible, that it's something we could afford to do. So we went from there. We applied in 2013, and we got the license, the construction permit, in February of 14. So the low power is much smaller. It's 100 watts maximum. Because of the height of our antenna, they do some type of analytics on it, and we're at 58 watts. We're not even a 100-watt radio station, believe it or not. But because of the height, we can reach pretty far. So that was exciting when we could figure out how far we went.
And it is. And remember all the background we had to go through to get to this stage. And the official radio station was first on the air in August of 2015.
Correct.
And one of the very first listeners was Buddy.
Yes. Buddy's across the street. Well, Dee can talk about the scheduling.
Yes.
But obviously some of our scheduling, because we can't fill 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So a lot of our scheduling is from the Audio Journal, which is for the blind and visually impaired. You've heard it on Channel 19 or the background of our bulletin board, but this is something that, we can actually schedule certain shows to air, so that's helpful.
At certain times. Diana Towle.
Hello.
Glad to have you here because
nice to be here.
Diana, we call her Dee.
Yes.
I have to look, and I said, this is Dee, same person, right? Dee is on the board.
Yep.
And other people Marie McDonald had started the radio, done a lot of work with a grant, and done so much work.
Yes.
and you were here, you were willing to pick up radio and run with it. And so you're going to help us out. Carol's explained a little bit about, and you could talk for a week about that, couldn't you, Carol?
Oh, I could. I shut up. So.
The applications and the process that needed to be done and the technology involved is huge. But do you know about the day-to-day operations that we've done? Could you just start for a minute? And we're going to do a little change. You tell us what you do. And then we're going to go back to Carol, who's going to tell us how we put the pieces of the permission and the wavelength and all of these things together, and who's helped us do this. So tell us a little bit about operations.
Well, first of all, like you said, Marie started the whole thing, and I just came on board because I got the idea when everybody was talking about this at board meetings. I happened to think, gee, all the bulletin board items that are on the TV would be nice to be heard. So I kept playing with the idea, and they came up with the thing that, yeah, we'll put the bulletin board items on the radio, and it's called the community calendar. I take exactly everything that's played on the bulletin board, I voice them.
And you do this twice a day, right?
3 times a day.
3 times. Tell us the times.
7 in the morning, like when people are going to work or whatever. Or, 10 o'clock in the morning, and then 5 at night. That I have to just voice them and put them into a certain section. Then I have to check to make sure that there's no select board meetings that have happened that I need to do those up. You know, I have to download them from where I get them from, and I have to put certain things with them, and then I have to put them into the schedule, and I have to do the whole schedule up and get the radio running during the day, because we, like Carol was saying, we don't have enough programs yet to run 24 hours a day. But maybe someday we will. I keep asking a few of the producers from time to time and saying, hey, would you like your shows on the radio? And several of them have said, yeah. So I have gotten several of the programs, and they just send them to me in a wave, and I just put them on. And
nice.
Did you ever think you'd be talking in terms of wave?
No.
Just, you know, a format. And so what happens is there's people who didn't ever think in their wildest dream they'd be involved in technology, and now she's like, oh, just send me a WAV file, we're fine.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what that means.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I was just going to be doing the cleaning and painting, and I opened up my mouth too much, so.
No, never.
But I enjoy it. I just sit back in a nice little quiet area back there and do what I need to do, and I try to make sure that the radio stays running, but we're still learning. So when the radio goes down, it's like, we're sorry, but we're still learning. And
you're going to understand, when the radio station goes down, it's not our fault. We're still using a lot of the audio journal. And so when they go down, we go down.
Yeah.
Our IT person who built the system for us, Greg Avedizian, has set it so that if there's like a few minutes of silence, music kicks in. So, you know, we are at least on the air most of the time. The other times we weren't on the air is because we had no power.
Yes.
So it's not like you scheduled something wrong and it didn't air for a while. She's very, very particular about that.
I've done that too. Good. I've misscheduled things, and oh God, I look back at the schedule because I have to print out the schedule so we have a log of what has happened. I look back at the schedule and I go, oops. Oh, I won't tell Carol that, no.
No. So what else do you do for the radio station?
I also do the EAS system,
Which means what?
Emergency Alert System. I know anybody that has listened to the radio, they've heard me do some of the emergency things, getting together an emergency kit. And I've also got somebody doing a thing on power outage and when power goes out, what you should do and can do or whatever. And that's the other part of that. I've got we have to keep a log of that. And that has to be a written log so that anytime somebody from the FCC walks in, we can just hand it to them, and if it's, as long as it's there, we're free to go and the whole bit. But that there is, I'm trying to work with, I've gotten the Athol police and fire chiefs in here, and I explained to them what I am hoping to do, and I just have to work with the Orange Police and Fire and get them in here. And what I would like to do is when there is a incident where the public needs to be informed, like when we had that fire that up there at Adams Farm and whatever, went up the hill there, I could have been on the radio saying, please stay away from the area, and anybody that has a respiratory problem, please shut your windows, because it was during the summer, so people have their windows open. But if you have a respiratory problem, you need to close your windows because the smoke is heading in, it's heading west. It's not heading north anymore. So the wind has changed, so you need to close your windows if you need to. So I want to be the voice for the fire and police so that they can get out what they need to get out to the public and not have to worry about, you know, oh, gee, I should make a statement or whatever, and how am I going to do that, and oh, there's a camera crew, and I'll just do it that way. But this way here, they can contact me and say, gee, can you put this out that, you know, we need people to be detoured around this area. I mean, there's going to be people there telling them which way to go anyways, but if we can get a message out ahead of time asking people, don't go that way, because you're just not going to go through. So I just hope to work with them. I don't want to hinder them.
When we were without electricity for 5 days and it was so cold, I know that all our public service organizations, there were different places for a warm space. There's another place for food. If there's medical attention needed, is this part of what is going to be possible now that VAO is online?
Definitely. I mean, I am part of the Orange system already, and I would know right away when the shelters were going to be put up and opened and whatever. But if I could just get them to work with me, and, you know, we'll just let everybody know.
And where your cell phone may not work after a while, and there's no electricity, so that means some other telephones may not be working, or the heat. I think this cooperation between the organizations of this region is going to be wonderful. It's going to help safety for our whole region.
And that's the other thing we need to do, is start getting people used to the fact of using radios again. I mean, we've gotten into television, everybody's so used to their phones and laptops and computers and stuff like that, and yeah, they'll last for a while, but until you get an actual radio in your house, you know, that's battery operated, where you can turn it off and turn it back on.
Yes.
You know, it's going to be hard to get people out there to...
And we've been told for years that part of your emergency kit is a radio.
Yes.
With extra batteries or the crank. Now the little batteries that come not only have the crank and the flashlight, but they have USB, a USB port. All of those things would pull together that safety unit, emergency unit. Now, this didn't happen at the flip of a switch. And it took a lot of parts coming together. Carol, could you pull those parts together? How did this come together?
Marie chaired it, the startup part of it. So again, once we found out in February that we got it, then we had to do fast and furious. So it's a two-pronged approach. One was all the equipment and getting it up and running, which sounds easy, but it's not. It took a lot. So with that, we needed a list. We did need to hire some engineers, and to hire an engineer to know what to buy for the actual radio, because I've done TV for 30 years. I have never done radio. I didn't even do radio in high school, college. I don't have all that lingo. I don't have all that expertise. So, but I wouldn't have the engineering piece anyway. So we do have Bob Schwein, who is a volunteer, who is now our current engineer for the radio station. We need to thank him. But we hired someone from Connecticut to put those pieces in place to get us the list of equipment and get that up and running with Bob. We needed to hire someone else to actually go on top of the tower and place the antennas because we're not climbing up there. So that was another huge piece that we worked with the town of Athol for. There's actually 2 antennas because one is the antenna to send out the signal, but one is the antenna to receive the signal from here. So our studio is here at AOTV on South Main Street. So the radio part where you go in and talk into the microphone and the computer that airs the programming is here. But the antenna that sends out the signal, of course, is at a higher elevation. And so we have to get the signal there. So we actually have another link, a microwave link similar to that, STL link, that gets it from the 3rd floor of our house, actually, over to the tower, and then it talks to it over there, and we have, you know, equipment over there. Part of the equipment requirements were for the emergency broadcast system, so we had to, you know, pull that money together to be able to purchase that equipment. The rules with the FCC is much different than AOTV, which is on cable. So the second we went to broadcast, it's a little different. So we have a lot of regulations we have to follow, and we're, you know, we learn most of them, but there's still always something new, and we need to, you know, put that in place. So the FCC gives you 3 years to go online, because usually you have to do some fundraising and you need to get people aboard and, you know, go that route. So the good news is I want to commend the board and all, because we're fiscally responsible enough that we had put some money aside through the years to be able to do this. So we had a good chunk of money that we could purchase the equipment with. And we got a grant from the Community Foundation of North Central Mass, so that helped. That was almost $10,000 that helped get it on faster. So we got that done in 18 months. Now I'm trying for a smaller grant to get the pieces together. I called it documentation. All the policies, the training, the curriculum for that, and how to do it, because I need to make sure that anyone that goes on the air knows all the rules of the FCC on, you know, the words you can't say, the call to actions you can't say. I mean, a lot of the similar non-commercial things from AOTV to the FCC, you know, radio rules apply, but there's more, and we don't want to do something that we shouldn't have done. So we're being very, you know, cautionary to get to that point. So in this phase 2 part of the radio, we need to put our policies together, we need to get the curriculum together, we need to do all that so people can go on the air and do the radio. That's proving difficult because we're spending all our time on the air. Doing shows, doing the scheduling and everything else. So now that we, you know, already have our time being taken up by being on the air, we don't have that time to create the policies and all that. So that's kind of the way I described it in the grant application. Yeah. We'll hope it will help, because one way or the other I'd like to be able to hire a consultant for that. Like I said, we had to hire an engineer for things we didn't know. Well, hiring a consultant for things we don't know isn't necessarily a bad thing either. But with that being said, we have some new volunteers that have stepped up who love radio, who have done radio in the past. So we have some people who either work for radio or volunteered for radio in the past and love the community radio piece. So it's nice to get those people involved, and they're part of our radio meetings and helping out with shows that, you know, are already pre-produced that they're downloading and editing. Maybe they're public domain shows. So we're getting the programming edited and on the air. But it's just time consuming. So anyone that wants to volunteer that maybe doesn't want television but wants radio, the sooner we can get the policies in place, the sooner we can get producers doing radio shows.
And when they do radio shows, we have to mention that they will need sponsors.
Yes.
That those sponsors will be part of it. And this is sponsored by a certain business.
Well, we hope we have some underwriting for the radio as well. You know, I mean, like I said, we've had, and we have great businesses in the community who donate to our auction and underwrite some of our other river rat race and football games and all of that. So we really hope that, same or different businesses will avail themselves to an opportunity to sponsor or underwrite the radio station as well.
Dee, I want to ask you again, from day to day, you've talked about the scheduling that you do, and you have to document in writing. Is there anything else that happens day to day that you do as part of the radio station?
No, I mainly just go in and make sure that everything is going in order, like it's supposed to. And like all those community calendar, or those bulletin boards, I'm so used to saying community calendars, every bulletin board item that's on AOTV is now on community calendar. They're not the same. I mean, I can say more than the TV can. I can get more information out, whereas the TV, you only have a small block to put it in.
Yes.
So it's kind of meshing the two together, which
Do
helps.
they have to do anything special if an organization has an event coming up and they have come in and they've filled out their form to be on the bulletin board? Do they have to do anything additional, or is it automatically going to be on the radio?
It will automatically go on the radio, but we need to make sure that there is a time, a date, and a place.
Yes.
There's been so many times that we've gotten bulletin board items and community calendar things, and it's like, what time is it going to happen? Where is it going to be?
Yeah.
So it's
Yes.
little things like that that people don't know when they're filling out the forms, but we try to help them do that
Yes.
and whatever.
Well,
so
yes.
Which is the reason we have the form to begin with. You can go on our website and fill out the bulletin board form. It will be the same for the radio. So the form asks you those questions. You'll forget and won't forget to tell us. A lot of people do a flyer or do a press release. As long as all that information's in there, they can send us those as well, as opposed to filling out the form. We do accept press releases and especially the flyers. We like the flyers because if it's not too wordy or too busy, we can just take that JPEG and put it on the air without having to retype and reinvent the wheel. Long press releases are very, very difficult.
Yes.
So we really would prefer not to get those. Something that you wrote to the paper. Just do one paragraph with the who, what, where, when, and why.
yeah, I know
That'd
I've
be
done
easier.
some. The town of Athol had something just recently where they had to get the information out that they were going to have a meeting and stuff, a development meeting or whatever. And I got to word that whole thing, and it was fun trying to make sure that I got it all and, did it right. And as some of the board members have mentioned, I have made mistakes and said one word that it's okay to say on the air, but I'm not happy that I said it, so.
That's all right. You're forgiven.
Yes, yes.
When you're a
but-
volunteer, the
think
chances
everyone-
of
I
being...
think everyone loves mistakes.
Yes.
I
Yes.
mean, don't they? I mean, that's part of what the auction is. Everyone wants to see these, high politicians and stuff make mistakes.
Yes, they do.
One thing I wanted to mention, when Carol was talking about the antennas and everything up where they are, they did make it so that the town can now use the emergency response people, the police and fire, can now use those antennas without having to take a generator up there. We made it possible for the town of Athol to run their radio equipment without having to run up there and start up a generator, because it doesn't run 24 hours a day. They didn't have power up there. And we made it possible for them, and it's very interesting the way we are starting to work together, and I'd like to continue to work together.
That is so exciting that
Yes.
that can happen, all for
Yes.
the safety of these towns, Athol and Orange in the North Quabbin region.
Yep.
And so we've, at board meetings and when we get together, people come back and report how far they've been able to get 105.9. What is that again?
Yeah.
Oh yes, 105.9 FM.
Yep, FM.
And so people have done some exploring with the radio on in their car. So what have you found out? How far can people go that you've heard?
New Salem, Irving, at some points, Greenfield,
Wow.
Warwick,
High on the hill.
Yeah.
Yep.
Royalston, Gardner. When the trees are off, when
the leaves are off
when
the
the
trees.
leaves are off the trees, you can get to Gardner, and
Wow.
it's a little sketchy, I want to say, but I noticed myself that there's one spot in North Orange, going up Wheeler Ave, that I lose. It's very in and out, and that's the only spot that I have found in Orange that I can't get it well.
So if our listening audience is out and about, turn to 105.9, see how far you can go and when you're hearing. And especially at those hours when you do the local news, we've said, people say, oh, I didn't know that was happening. And well, this is a way you know what's happening. That you can tune in at 105.9 FM. You can tune in at 7, at 10, and 5, and those are all local.
Yep.
It's all information. A final note, Carol, how do you, or Dee, how do you see this moving for the future?
I would like to see more government things, like there's going to be a town meeting, and maybe putting it in with the community count or whatever, or having a separate thing of, gee, don't forget the town meeting tonight or the select board meeting, because I've heard the Athol selectmen saying, gee, come down and see the select board meeting, and I'd like to start reminding people that, hey, there's a select board meeting tonight.
Yeah.
Why don't you stop in and see what happens?
Good suggestion. Carol?
Obviously, my whole goal is more volunteers. I think we want to pick and choose what good shows come from Audio Journal and leave those playing, but the rest we'd like it to be local and or downloaded material that's going to be beneficial to the community. So I'm hoping that, as we get more volunteers and can move forward with a training and in getting more people in to edit and or do live programming. The other goal would be to come, we're not necessarily looking for music shows all the time. A lot of community radio stations, it's all music and you just come in and you DJ for 2 hours and pick your songs and stuff. That was never our goal. We're not gonna dissuade it, but
Right.
we don't have the money to be buying all those songs either. So I'd like to see more talk shows, whether it be TV or radio. I always wanted to do both. Right now we're doing TV shows and we're ripping the audio for the radio. So we've gotten a lot of incredible response from just airing the select board meetings. People that probably didn't have cable, so they really weren't keeping up other than maybe reading the paper, maybe they don't get the paper. So now they listen to the radio and they're getting what's happening in town from these select board meetings and town meetings. So as that moves forward, we can then have some talk shows. We could do just the opposite. We could have a radio show, and if we brought a camera in there, the radio show could also air on AOTV.
There you go.
So I think it encompasses so much more, because people who produce a TV show, produce a radio show, do a lot of work, so they need to get their word out in as many ways as possible.
Well, it has been delightful to have Carol Courville and Dee Towle here today, telling about the WVAO radio station, 105.9, one more time together, 105.9 FM.
WVAO LP, the voice of Athol Orange.
All right. Thank you very much for watching Ask AOTV.